The NFL draft is over, and here's my top 50 Dynasty Superflex rookie rankings. This should cover you. If you play in a 12-team league with a 4-round rookie mock draft, that's 48 players. This should cover you for your Dynasty rookie drafts. We are going over through 1 through 50 in today's video. As always, give us a like and subscribe. We put out content, both Dynasty and Redraft, all year long. At my number 1 in Dynasty Superflex rookie rankings, I have Mr. Caleb Williams, who was the 101 in this draft. He's been my 101 since I started this process back in early or late December. Hasn't changed. I think he should go 101. He goes into the perfect situation, throwing the ball to DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett. Oh, no, yeah. Rome Odunze, a top 10 pick in this 2024 NFL draft. Caleb Williams is my 101 in a Dynasty Superflex. Some people will argue that the 101 should be Marvin Harrison. I won't argue too much against that. However, he is my number 2, and in a 12-team Superflex league, I'm taking Caleb Williams 101. In a 10-team Superflex, I'll take Marvin Harrison, and obviously in a 1 quarterback, I'll take Marvin Harrison. But we're talking about Superflex because that's what you should be playing in your Dynasty leagues. He's my number 1 receiver. He's going to play with Kyler Murray. He's going to come in. He's going to do well. His value is not going to drop off, at least for a year and a half or so. He's kind of bulletproof until the 2025 NFL season, to be honest. So he's my 102. And again, I'm not putting these in tiers necessarily, but I would have him in the same tier as Jaden Daniels, who is my number 3 rookie. Again, in Superflex, there's an argument to be made that Jaden Daniels could be the 102, and especially if you need a quarterback at the 102 and you can't trade back or whatever. I'm not going to argue it if you take Jaden over Marvin Harrison. But he is my number 3. He was the 102 in this draft. He goes to the Commanders, pretty nice spot. You have they drafted Luke McCaffrey, but you also have Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson. They brought in a tight end as well that's slipping my name off the top of my head. Ben Sinnott. So there you have it. It's he's my 3rd pick. He's my 103. Can make the argument for being my 102 in a Superflex league. At number 4, I have Malik Neighbors, the New York Giants new receiver. He went 106. He's not that far off from Marvin Harrison Jr. I know we've been hearing Marvin Harrison for seems like 2 years now. Malik Neighbors is really damn good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he had a better 2024 season than Marvin Harrison Jr. or even a career. I think it's more likely it's Marvin Harrison, which is why I have him over Malik Neighbors. But I'm not going to be surprised. This guy is great. He's fantastic. He goes to a situation where he has a below-average passer in Daniel Jones, in my opinion. However, Malik Neighbors can create so much on his own after his yards after the catch ability that I'm actually okay with him playing with a quarterback who is below average, in my opinion, as a passer. If this was Rome Odunze on the Giants, I'd be a little bit more lower because I think Rome Odunze is slightly more dependent on a quarterback getting him the ball. Not that I think Rome Odunze is way worse than Malik Neighbors. Just I think Malik Neighbors can create a little bit more on his own. So he's my 104. However, if you want to make a case for my next pick, my 105, and I changed this, so it says number 6. I changed it last minute. He's my number 5. Drake May. He goes 3rd overall to the Patriots. And there's a reason why I changed it last minute. And I'll get into that. But Drake May is the 3rd quarterback taken. He's the 103. I know some people are down on him and, he's Daniel Jones reincarnated or whatever. I don't think that. I think he's much better. I think he's sneaky, could run the ball even more than Jaden Daniels this year. Not likely, but he sneaky could. He's a gifted runner. He could run for 700 yards. I wouldn't be surprised. At least 500 plus. I think he's a good passer. He has all the arm talent in the world. He's on the Patriots. They did all they could to. I originally had J.J. McCarthy over Drake May. The Patriots draft was dedicated to building around Drake May, getting him multiple receivers, getting him offensive linemen, all these players, getting him a tight end, a receiving tight end in particular. Drake May is now my number 5 in my rookie rankings, and I think he should be going at the latest at the 105, potentially even as high as the 104 over Malik Neighbors. Now, you already know my number 6. Don't be confused by the graphic. I changed the last minute. My number 6 is J.J. McCarthy. And one of the reasons it changed was because of the Patriots draft and that they went all out to build around Drake May, and a couple of those players are going to hit. So it's not this barren wasteland of talent now on the Patriots, in my opinion. JJ McCarthy, though, he goes to the Vikings. I know a lot of people are going to take him over Drake May. And again, I'm not going to argue too much about it or not going to argue against it. If you want to take him over Drake May, be my guest. I'm not going to argue it. The landing spot is wonderful. It's probably the best in the draft class out of all these quarterbacks. I like Justin Jefferson, Addison, and Hawkinson, and Aaron Jones, and Kevin O'Connell. I like that more than DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze potentially, right? And the coaching staff. So you can argue he has the best landing spot. Now, another reason why I bumped him a little bit is the NFL showed like the Giants were sitting there at 6. The Giants could have used the quarterback. They didn't value McCarthy as a top 6 pick. No one traded up for McCarthy into the top 6, 7. He was there. A lot of teams needed him. Saints, Broncos, Raiders. All these teams could use a quarterback. No one traded up to go get him, except for the Vikings. You know, they traded up one spot. But they thought, hey, we'll sit back. If we don't get him, we don't get him type of thing. So that leads me to believe, you know, there's a little bit of concern about what his ceiling is in JJ McCarthy. Still like his landing spot. Still think he's going to be very, very good. And he could be even better than what I'm giving credit for. But again, I have him as my number 6, so it's not like I hate the guy. Number 7, I have Rome Odunze. Him going to the Bears did not change anything for me. He's always kind of been number 7, number 8 in Dynasty Superflex League drafts and mock drafts we've been doing all offseason. Odunze falls between the 106 and the 108 every mock draft. And that's where he is for me. Nothing changes. I'm not worried. Year 1, is he the most likely to not produce as much as, you know, Neighbors and Mark? Who's the least likely to produce the most? It's a weird way to say it. But Rome Odunze probably has the worst rookie season out of the top 3 guys in Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, and Rome Odunze. Because he's going to the Bears with a rookie quarterback. We have to keep that in mind. He's a rookie quarterback, 2 stud receivers. Now, by 2025, Rome Odunze could be the best player on this team, best wide receiver. Wouldn't surprise me. So he's number 7. Nothing really changed for me, even though he went to the Bears. I like that he's going to be paired with Caleb Williams for at least the next 5 years. And then, this is a controversial one. At the 108, I have Bo Nix. I'm sorry, it's a super flex league. As much as we all think we can evaluate quarterbacks, we can't. We can't. Even the NFL, professionals, guys and girls have been watching football for their whole lives and been scouting, and this is their job. Even they fail a lot. And I know that's a feather in the cap of, well, Bo Nix could fail. Yes, he could. He could definitely fail. But a quarterback that has first-round draft capital, even more specific, top 12 draft capital, needs to be taken in the first round and shouldn't fall further than the 108, in my opinion. He will fall. Some people will be sitting there at the 110, 111, and they will be able to get Bo Nix, but I don't think that's right. So Bo Nix is my 108. He goes to, I think, the perfect situation for him. Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos reunited with Troy Franklin. You know, the dink and dunk. He might just be a dink and dunk guy, but that's fine. For fantasy, I just want points. I don't care how you do it. Just give me points. So he's my 108. He's my top 8 rookie. I have my wide receiver 4 and my rookie ranking number 9, Mr. Xavier Worthy. He was drafted 28th overall to the Kansas City Chiefs. I've always been a Worthy guy since day one, since January, late December, January, when I really started scouting these guys. Xavier Worthy was always kind of my wide receiver 4 or 5. And then he ran a 4.21, and that even, you know, not that necessarily means anything. You can be fast and not good at football, but just watch him play. The guy's always open, and his route running is the reason why. So I think he's more than just a deep threat. Maybe year 1, that's kind of how he's used, but he's paired with Patrick Mahomes. He gets the Chiefs bump. He's going to have, even if he sucks for the first 5 weeks of the season and he has a huge week 6, people are going to be like, holy crap. So you have that value, the value of the Chiefs bump. Now, I don't bump players up because they're on the Chiefs. Think of Sky Moore and Mecole Hardman, but other people do. So I have to take that into account. He's my 109. He's my wide receiver 4. He should be a mid to late first round pick in your dynasty rookie drafts. My 10th pick is Mr. Brian Thomas Jr. He's always kind of been there, my top 5 receiver. He always floats around this 108 to 110 range in dynasty rookie mock drafts. nothing really changed. I've always liked him. I think his ceiling may be a little bit capped. I don't know if he can be elite, like top 8 receiver, but I think he could just be a really solid, like, wide receiver 17 year in and year out. He goes to a great situation where he's potentially the best receiver. I think he complements Christian Kirk really, really well. And, you pair him with who I think is still an above average quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. Brian Thomas Jr. should be a first-round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts. Next up, I have Brock Bowers. Now, I know a lot of people are going to have him. Why isn't he ranked higher? In tight end premium leagues, if you're getting 1 point per tight end premium, meaning if you play PPR and tight ends get 2 points, or if you play half PPR and tight ends get 1.5, I would bump him over Brian Thomas and Xavier Worthy. However, in a standard non-tight end premium, I have him as the 111. You have to be truly, truly special to be a difference maker at the tight end position. And yeah, can Brock Bowers be special? Of course he can. But he's my 111. Still think he should go in the first round. And maybe you're getting value there. And then at my rounding out my top 12, I have Ladd McConkey, who gets drafted 34th overall to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think he comes in. I think he's probably the best receiver from day one on that team. The safest target on that team. Maybe he lacks a little bit of upside. I don't know if he can be like a 1,400-yard receiver, especially on the Chargers. However, he could just be like Julian Edelman, 1,000 to 1,100 yards, 1,200 yards every year, 90 catches and maybe catches 6 and 7 balls and the touchdowns. And I think Herbert's going to love him. I think it's a little bit exaggerated that the Chargers are just going to run the ball 50 times a game. I do think they're going to throw the ball a lot more than we think. Not a lot more, but more than we think. So Ladd McConkey, even though he's a second-round pick and there's a couple first-round picks who are behind him, I have him as my top 12. I think he should be a first-round Dynasty rookie draft player, and he probably will be. Next up at the 13, I have Ricky Pearsall, who goes to the 49ers as a first-round pick. This may be a little bit of a you don't get much year one. I don't think the 49ers are going to move off of both Debo and Ayuk, and I don't think they're going to do it now that the draft is over, because this team wants to win the Super Bowl. So this is kind of their replacement for either one of those guys or both. Ricky Pearsall can stretch the field. He can get down the field. I think he's more than just a slot guy. I think he can play on the outside. And yeah, you might not get, huge season in 2024, barring injuries and things like that. But 2025, he could be the wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 on this team. Who knows? And for 49ers, I'm attaching myself to a really good offense. Next up is Keon Coleman, who goes 33rd to the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm not the biggest Keon Coleman fan. I'm not in love with his ability to separate, but he's linked with Josh Allen for the next 5 years, most likely. He's going to get force-fed the ball. There's not a whole lot of competition in there. I think Curtis Samuel, we're underrating a little bit what Curtis Samuel brings to the table, but there's like Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, Curtis Samuel. He could come in and be the best receiver pretty easily, and you're tied with Josh Allen for the next 5 years. So he gets really good draft capital. He was the first pick of the second round. Keon Coleman is my 14th rookie. I think he should be going early second round in rookie drafts. Maybe even slips into the first round. I wouldn't be surprised. Next up, I have my first running back. That is Jonathan Brooks, going 15th overall to the Carolina Panthers. 46th overall to the Carolina Panthers. He's my 15th ranked rookie. My first running back, I was kind of back and forth between him and Trey Benson. I still really like Trey Benson, who you'll hear about later on, obviously. But I do think I do lean Jonathan Brooks over Trey Benson at this point. I think he's going to be ready for the season to start. I think if he didn't tear his ACL, he might have snuck in as a first-round pick. And he goes to the Carolina Panthers, and I think I'm not worried about Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders at all. So he's my 15th ranked rookie. I think he should be going early second round. And then we have maybe a divisive one as well, a Michael Penix Jr., a top 10 pick in this last year's draft, which shocked us all. I was absolutely shocked. And I know a lot of people are going to say, I'm not drafting him. In Superflex leagues, I think it's a mistake. I think if he falls beyond the 204, 205, 206, I think we're making a mistake. We could be looking back in a year, 2 years and being like, remember when we drafted Keon Coleman and Xavier Legette over Michael Penix, we were crazy, right? Kind of the same thing with Jordan Love, right? So ultimately, the Kirk Cousins contract is a 2-year thing. Kirk Cousins is also 36 years old, coming off an Achilles injury. He's won one playoff game in his career. The Falcons obviously valued Michael Penix as a top 10 pick. Multiple teams reportedly, we don't know if it's true, but reportedly wanted to trade up for Michael Penix. So not only did the Falcons think of him as a top 10 pick, the Saints and the Broncos and the Raiders all did too. So there's a good chance that Michael Penix is just really good. Yeah, you're not going to get much production from him in a couple years, which is always tough to wait and sit on. But in Superflex, I'm willing to do that for quarterbacks. So wouldn't be surprised if we look back in 2026 and be like, man, I can't believe I took these guys over Michael Penix, who's now the starting quarterback for the Falcons. Number 17, I have Xavier Legette, the last first-round pick left on the board. I was a little bit lower on Legette. He reminds me a little bit of Jonathan Mingo. He goes to the Panthers in the 32nd pick. So I've always been kind of worried about him in terms of why didn't he produce in college? Why did it take him until his 5th year to really produce? Now, I have acknowledged in all the videos we've made, he has maybe the highest ceiling besides the top 3 receivers. I think Xavier Legette has a higher ceiling than Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Ladd McConkey, Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman, all these guys. But his floor is also super, super low. So a lot of him, I just don't think he can separate very well. We'll see how he pairs with Bryce Young. I could be way underrating him, and you could be excited to get him at the 205, 206, mid-second round, a first-round pick at receiver. But if you want to take him a little bit higher, go for it. I'm just a little bit worried about his profile, and I'm not super excited about the team he's on. Next up at number 18 in my rookie, I have Trey Benson here. That is the new running back for the Arizona Cardinals. I love Trey Benson. He was kind of my running back 1, running back 2 all year, all offseason. He goes to the Cardinals. I'm not necessarily worried too much about it. I think James Conner's going to stay there, and I think James Conner's going to be good. James Conner's also going to miss 3 or 4 games, potentially more. Trey Benson is going to be the number 1 running back for this team in 2025, and this offense could be awesome with Kyler, Marvin Harrison, Trey Benson, Michael Wilson, Trey McBride. This could be an awesome offense. So I like a workhorse running back potentially in my mind, picking up in the 2nd round. Yeah, I just think Trey Benson's really, really good. Next up at number 19, I have Jalen Polk, a player that I've always liked in the pre-draft process. Thought he was kind of limited as maybe as like a wide receiver 2 in fantasy and for teams. Now he gets paired to Drake May. This is one of the additions the Patriots made for Drake May. So I love that. The wide receiver room is wide open. He could easily be the number 1 guy. I think he has a chance for that. We'll see how he pairs with Drake May, but I think he's just a really good player. He's a good crisp route runner. He's good after the catch, so I think that's important for Drake May. So I'll take Jalen Polk, potential wide receiver 1 for the Patriots here in the mid to late 2nd round. And then I have Mr. A.D. Mitchell at number 20. Excuse me 1 second. He goes 52nd overall to the Colts. He fell a bit. I think a lot of people were expecting him to potentially be a first-round pick, and he fell all the way to almost the end of the 2nd round, right? Late 2nd round. I'm not the biggest A.D. Mitchell fan. I'm not. But I do recognize he got good draft capital. Not what we were thinking, but good draft capital. He went to a team that I like their system, and I like their coach, and Shane Steichen. So I trust him a bit, the coach that is. And I know Anthony Richardson's not necessarily going to throw a bunch, but there's a little bit of concern about where his target volume is going to come from. We have Michael Pittman, who's a target hog. We still have Josh Downs on the team. We'll see what he does. A.D. Mitchell, I do think, steps in as the wide receiver 2 over Alec Pierce. So we'll see. We'll see how he does, but I'll still take a chance on him here, mid to late 2nd round. Next up, we have for the first 4th round pick on the board, Troy Franklin. Now, I was a big Troy Franklin fan. He did not get the draft capital I wanted. I was hoping he got day 2 draft capital. He went early, day 3. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but, I still like the talent a lot. I really, really like the talent a lot. And I think him pairing with Bo Nix is kind of really good situation. He has the familiarity with the quarterback. He could be the best receiver on the Broncos. It wouldn't surprise me. I know Cortland Sutton's there, but Cortland Sutton is what he is. So the chemistry's there with Bo Nix. I still personally like Troy Franklin a lot. I think he could be one of the exceptions. Usually day 3 receivers, it's kind of a death note. I think he can be one of the exceptions that we find every couple of years. Next up, I have Mr. Roman Wilson going 84th overall to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's my number 22. Dynasty rookie superflex ranking. I like Roman Wilson a lot. I love where he went. I don't love where he went, but I don't mind where he went with the Steelers. George Pickens is there, but George Pickens is not a target hog. He had like 100 targets last year, which is good. George Pickens is good for what he does. He's not a target hog. He's not a 150 target guy. Roman Wilson could be easily slide in, be the wide receiver 2, and just be like a PPR target, PPR monster, catching a bunch of balls. Maybe he's limited a little bit at his ceiling, but I think he's a little bit better than just a slot guy. He can play on the outside. I like Roman Wilson, and there's a spot for him to easily be the wide receiver 2 for the Steelers. Next up, Marshawn Lloyd comes in at number 23 overall, my 3rd running back, 88th overall in the 3rd round. And I don't love where he went necessarily. I was going to say I love where he went, and then I realized, no, he went to the Packers. I don't necessarily love that, but I love Marshawn Lloyd. Absolutely love his talent. I think he's one of the most explosive and elusive running backs in this draft class. He goes to a one-cut system in the Packers, and that's what he's perfect for. One cut, see the hole, one cut, go. That's what he's perfect for. And I think he's going to excel. A.J. Dillon, I think he comes in, he's better than A.J. Dillon from day 1, so he's the RB2. Josh Jacobs says, go back and look at his contract. I know he signed all this money multiple years. It's a 1-year contract. Packers can get out of it after year 1, and they may if Marshawn Lloyd's good. So he could be the starting running back for the Packers in 2025. So I like Marshawn Lloyd. Still think he has a great opportunity to be productive, even in 2024 with an injury. So next up on the list, number 24. So it's essentially the last pick of the 2nd round. Everyone you heard of should be going in the top 2 rounds, in my opinion. That is Malachi Corley. He gets drafted to the Jets. He's the 1st pick of the 3rd round. Goes to the Jets. I liked Malachi Corley a lot. He's a tough guy to evaluate because so many of his targets come behind the line of scrimmage, but he's yards after the catch monster. He's going to get manufactured touches, the jet screens, the reverses, the pop passes, the bubble screens, and I think he complements Garrett Wilson perfectly. He could be the number 2 target for this team. He kind of can move him all over the field, in my opinion, in the backfield, wherever you want. Now the question is, he's versatile. Is he Rondale Moore and Laviska Shenault, or is he Deebo Samuel? Now, I'm not saying he's going to be quite Deebo Samuel, but closer to Deebo Samuel than Rondale Moore. So we'll see. Gets good draft capital, gets paired with a good team. Third round receivers are still fine. Day 3 receivers, a little bit sketchier. Next up, we have Jalen McMillan, another guy I really liked in the pre-draft process. 92nd overall, goes to the Buccaneers. I think he fits in right in the slot. Now, I know Trey Palmer's there, but Trey Palmer is more of a field stretcher. Jalen McMillan is more of that traditional slot player, tough catches over the middle, short yardage, close to the line of scrimmage type of player. I think he comes in. That's what his role is. Obviously, Evans and Godwin are there. So what's his ceiling? Not quite sure, but we don't know where Godwin's going to be beyond 2024. So I like Jalen McMillan. I can see a path for him by 2025 being the wide receiver 2 for this team. Next up, we have another running back, Mr. Jalen Wright, who gets drafted 120th overall, 4th round to the Miami Dolphins. Now, a lot of people, this guy, he might be my number 1 value pick. I have him valued as a very early 3rd round, maybe even late 2nd round pick in Dynasty rookie drafts. He may fall to the mid to late 3rd round because people are going to see Dolphins next to his name. They're going to think Achane, Mostert, what? Right? I'm not taking him. And I think that's a mistake. I think Jalen Wright is the Mostert replacement. Obviously, Mostert's still going to be there, but Mostert's also 32 years old. 'N' 'always gets beat up. 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 'N' 'always gets be Jalen Wright fits the speed of Miami Dolphins. He runs like a 4.35, I believe. So he fits the speed of Miami Dolphins perfectly. The Dolphins offense struggled when HN got hurt. And so this is their replacement for if that happens. And I think it's the Mostert replacement. So I think in 2025, we're talking about Jalen Wright and HN paired together, and Jalen Wright's the new Mostert. And we know how valuable the Miami Dolphins running backs are. Whether you're RB1 or 2, they were putting up monster numbers. So I think it's a mistake to let him fall past the early third round. We'll see where he goes in these rookie drafts. Next up, we have Jermaine Burton, who gets drafted to the Bengals, 80th overall. I like Jermaine Burton. He's my 27th ranked rookie. Some people are going to have him higher, and that's fine. I'm not going to argue with them. I admit I could be lower than him on him than I should be. My question with Jermaine Burton is he just a field stretcher, deep threat, or can he be more? Because that's all he was in college. Go back and look at his college numbers. He was like a 16 yards average depth of target every year. Last year, he was like over 20 yards average depth of target, not per catch. Average depth of target. That means his passes were 20 yards in the air, 20 yards downfield. And for fantasy, that doesn't fit. For the Bengals, it's fantastic. For Joe Burrow, it's amazing. Right? For fantasy, that's not how we can't survive all those type of players, the Rashid Shaheed type of players. Now, can he be more than that? Yes. There's some underlying things that point to it. I just don't know, so I kind of hedge my bets a little bit, put him as an early third round pick. Next up, we have Blake Corum, drafted 28th overall. Oh, sorry. I keep reading the rookie. Rookie ranking 28th overall, drafted 83rd overall, third round to the Los Angeles Rams. I was a bit lower on Blake Corum than consensus, I'd say. I liked other guys like Jalen Wright and Marshawn Lloyd more than Corum. Now, he goes to a fantastic spot, which is why I have him. I bumped him up a bit. He gets good draft capital. Third round's fine for a running back. Third round, fourth round, honestly, either one of those are fine. It's when you start, even fifth round is okay. It's beyond that is where it gets a little tough. But third round is fine for a running back. He goes to the Rams. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, he's going to split carries with Kyren Williams. I don't see that happening. I think it's Kyren Williams' show. Sean McVay, think of Todd Gurley, think of Cam Akers, the end of the 2022 season. Think of Kyren Williams last year. I know there's been a couple years there where they did kind of have like a 50-50 split with multiple running backs, but I think that's just because they didn't have anyone who was that good. Kyren Williams, I think, is really good. Go look at the Rams. They lost 3 of the 4 games that Kyren Williams missed last year. I think that was on their minds, thinking we need the run game. We need the run game to set up our offense, to set up our pass game, have the threat. We didn't have that when Kyren was out. And, we lost 3 or 4 games. I know one of them was out without Stafford, but their offense did not do well without Kyren Williams. This is the replacement for that if it happens. Now, if he does get hurt, which is not a big if, right? Because Kyren Williams is undersized. That's why he went 5th round. He's an undersized back, and we just saw him get hurt last year. I know it's hard to forget, but hard to remember because he did so well. He missed 4 games. So that's why I have Corum here, because if he does take over for the Rams, he's going to be awesome, just like Kyren and Cam Akers and Todd Gurley. Not to that level, but he's going to be really good because I trust McVay in the offense. Next up, I have Javon Baker. Javon Baker was drafted in the 4th round, 110th overall. He went to the New England Patriots. Basically, everything I said about Jalen Polk, insert Javon Baker. Now, I like Jalen Polk as a prospect more than Javon Baker, and so does the NFL. He went early 2nd versus 4th round. But in terms of the opportunity, a wide open receiver room, pairing him with Drake May, building that relationship, insert that for Javon Baker. So some people were a lot higher on him than a pre-draft process than I was, but I recognize that he goes to a wide open receiver room, could easily be the best receiver. I wouldn't be shocked. So Javon Baker should be a 3rd round pick. Now we have our second tight end is Jatavian Sanders. He goes 101st overall, 4th round, which 4th round draft capital for tight ends is actually not that bad. You want tight ends to be within the first 4 rounds. It's rounds 5, 6, 7, which are bad. 4th round draft capital. He was kind of considered the tight end 2 all offseason, all pre-draft. Doesn't go as the tight end 2. He goes as the tight end 4. But He goes as he's kind of considered the tight end too in terms of pass catching. I think he's a very talented pass catcher. He goes to the Carolina Panthers. Their best tight end is Tommy Tremble. So I think he comes in. He's the tight end one for the Panthers. Hopefully he can build a relationship with Bryce Young in this offense and Dave Canales. So I have him as a potential. You could be getting a potential top 12 tight end, in the mid to late third round of your dynasty rookie drafts. Next up on the list, I have Mr. Bucky Irving. I love Bucky Irving. Don't necessarily love where he went. Wish he went to a little bit better of a spot. He goes 125th overall, 4th round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, they have Rachaad White there. I think Bucky Irving has a role for a team. It's just, is he going to go beyond his role? Is he going to just be a pass-catching running back, which I always lean towards those guys because if you show you can catch the ball, it's going to give you more opportunity to get on the field. And Bucky Irving is maybe the best pure running back pass catcher in this draft class. And he's going to have that role for whatever team he goes to. He's probably going to return some kicks maybe, but he's going to have that pass catching role. And now it's just, can he develop into a little bit more? Is he just a Nyheim Hines, a J.D. McKissick, Theo Riddick type of player where all they do is catch and maybe they get 80 rushes? Or can he turn more into closer to Austin Eckler where he's getting 160 rushes and still getting his 50, 60 catches? That's where he becomes super valuable. I think the chance is there. Definitely not year one, but the chance is there. Next up on the list at number 32, one of my sleeper picks in this draft. I don't think he's going to go this high. I have him as a mid to late third rounder. I think he doesn't go into the 4th round potentially. Kamani Vidal out of Troy goes 181st overall. This is my lowest, my first 6th rounder. I think even my first 5th rounder. He gets drafted to the Chargers. Chargers surprisingly did not take a running back until Kamani Vidal. And that's all they took. I think they brought in a free agent or two, but all they took was Kamani Vidal at running back. They have Gus Edwards. He's 29 years old. They have J.K. Dobbins. He's coming off an Achilles after coming off an ACL. Isaiah Spiller's still there, whatever. Kamani Vidal, the Chargers liked him. They liked him in the combine. They were talking to him. They really liked him. They got him in the 6th round. I think he can have an impact from 2024. I think he's the RB2 potentially already, and he could be even more. And even if he is just the RB2, this team's going to run the ball 30, 35 times. He's going to get 15 of those. So I think he's a guy that we could be talking about. He has a good 3 year run of like a top 24 running back, and you get really good value out of him. Next up, I'm going all the way back to the 2nd round. Ben Sinnott. Sinnott? I always forget how to say it. Sinnott or Sinnott. He goes, as you can see here, 53rd overall to the Commanders. So they have Zach Ertz. Ben Sinnott was getting a lot of hype heading into the draft. Super explosive, can jump out the roof. Not super fast or anything. I thought of him more as like a Kyle Juszczyk than I did as a fantasy asset. But there's a chance that he could just be a really good fantasy asset, just all around good player. There's still that chance he's a better real football player than fantasy football player. So that's in the back of my mind, which is why I ranked him this low, even though he was a 2nd round pick. Also, tight ends, they don't really mean much unless you're finishing top 5, top 7. So, but the opportunity's there for him and the Commanders. I think he can beat out Zach Ertz pretty easily. Next up on the list, coming in at number 34 overall, my Dynasty rookie rankings is Mr. Sweet Ray Davis, 128th overall, 4th round pick. Love Ray Davis. Love this tape. He's an older prospect. I think he's already he's going to be 25 or something. No, it'd be 24, 25 in the middle of the season. So that's kind of why he fell a little bit. But love him in terms of the style of runner he is. He goes to the Bills. He's going to be backing up James Cook. But what if James Cook gets hurt? You're on a really good team. They're going to give him. I think he has a role for the Bills. And obviously, I think he's automatically the RB2 for the team. So I like Ray Davis. I like his talent. Now I jump back into the 6th round, which is unusual for me to go for a 6th round receiver this high up. Still think he should be potentially an end of 3rd, early 4th round pick. Malik Washington. I'm not sure why he fell as far as he did, but he did fall that far. Dude had a monster season in Virginia. I think it was like the 50% of the team's offense, passing offense. He falls to the 6th round. I thought he was going to be, at worst, like a 4th round pick. But he goes to the Dolphins. They're going to know how to use him. I think they really want a third option on that team. I know it all runs through Tyreek Hill and Waddle. And I think that's more because they had no one else. They couldn't find a tight end. They couldn't find, Chase Claypool, Robbie Anderson, Robbie Chosen, Braxton Berrios. They couldn't find the third option, right? I think they do want one to make their team more dangerous. And I think Malik Washington could be that third option for a really good team, a really good offense. So I like Malik Washington. That's why I have him this high up. Rounding out essentially my 3rd round, last pick of the 3rd round, what I'm saying is Luke McCaffrey, drafted in the 3rd round of the NFL draft, so really good draft capital. Goes 100th overall. He goes to the Commanders, which, okay, rookie quarterback, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Ben Sinna, Austin Eckler's there. Obviously, Zach Ertz. There's a pretty crowded pass-catching room if you really think about it, especially for a rookie quarterback that's kind of profiled to run a bit. But I like McCaffrey. He's versatile. He can maybe line up at quarterback, running back, obviously at wide receiver. I think he's talented. We'll just see what that means. Is he just like a nice little weapon, or is he actually fantasy relevant? Now we're into the 4th round of your Dynasty rookie drafts. We have Isaac Guerendo out of Louisville. He goes 129th overall, 4th round to the San Francisco 49ers. It's pretty simple here, guys. He goes to the 49ers. Now, I know they take running backs every year in this range, it seems like. McCaffrey's there, and no way in hell is he touching anything from McCaffrey. But McCaffrey's getting up there in age. Maybe we get one more dominant McCaffrey season out of him. Guerendo is probably the most athletic running back in this entire draft class. His 40-yard time, his broad jump, his vertical, all that stuff is out through the roof. So he could win the job as the number 2 guy, and that holds a lot of value, obviously backing up McCaffrey in one of the best offenses in the NFL. Next up, we have our first quarterback since Michael Penix, I believe. And that's Spencer Rattler, who was the first quarterback drafted between Bo Nix. He was a 5th round pick, 150th overall. Rookie ranking for me is 38th overall. And it's pretty simple here. He's a quarterback. I'm going to take shots, guys. I made videos about draft capital. And draft capital for wide receivers, day 3 wide receivers, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, is like it's like a 3% chance that they hit. Doesn't matter if you're a 4th or 7th. It's like a 3% chance that you hit. Very, very low percentage. There's exceptions. There's Amon-Ra St. Browns and Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hills. Yes. And I have some of those in here who I think could be exceptions. But the fact of the matter is, running backs have a better hit rate. Tight ends in the 4th round have a better hit rate. And quarterbacks have a slightly better hit rate. And of course, if you hit on a quarterback, they're much more valuable. So I like Spencer Rattler in terms of his arm talent. He goes to the Saints. I think he needs to sit for a year or two, but I think he wins the QB2 job for the Saints. And who knows if Derek Carr gets hurt? Who knows if the Saints move on from Derek Carr after a year or two and they say, hey, I think the Saints are going to be good enough. They're not going to be drafting in the top 10 to get a quarterback. So they might have to choose Spencer Rattler for a year. A year of a starting quarterback, a half a year of a starting quarterback in a Superflex league should be 4th round pick value in Dynasty rookie drafts. Next up on my list at number 39, I have Mr. Audric Estime. Was not a big Audric Estime fan. Didn't love that he ran a 4.7. Ran a little bit better at his pro day, I believe. I'm not a big Audric Estime fan, but I acknowledge that he went to the Broncos in the 5th round, and he's probably the RB2 for that team. I don't think it's Julian McLaughlin. I think if Javonte gets hurt, Julian McLaughlin's role doesn't change, and Audric Estime gets a bigger workload. I think that's how it would work out. He's not going to beat out Javonte. But, Sean Payton has history with fantasy running backs. It's like, for running backs, it's like fantasy gold. So I acknowledge, we're taking running backs at this point who, okay, they come in as the RB2. That's what I'm looking at. Do you come in as the RB2? Most likely, yes. All right, I'm going to be taking shots on you in the 4th round because all RB2s should be rostered in Dynasty leagues. Next up at number 40, I have Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy goes to the New York Giants. He's a converted receiver to running back. I think he spent like 5 or 6 years in college, which is crazy, but he only played 1 year as a running back. I think he has some talent. Now, do I think he's going to take over the job from Devin Singletary? Probably not. He'll probably be the 1B, but he could win out. He could be better than that. I'll take a chance. That running back room. Sorry, I just got the update about Tank Dell. Wow, that's scary. Looks like he's going to be okay though. But anyways, Tyron Tracy, I think is, he's in a running back room that doesn't have a clear-cut number one guy. So I'll take a chance on that. Next up, we have Braylon Allen at 41. I was a little bit higher on Braylon Allen than some people, but then he fell to the, to the fourth round, which isn't terrible, but he goes to the Jets, and there's no chance in hell he's going to pass Breece Hall. That's the difference between him and Tyron Tracy. Tyron Tracy could be the RB1. No way in hell Braylon Allen is overtaking Breece Hall, and I'm not even sure if Braylon Allen is the RB2. You have Israel Banakanda from last year, 5th round pick. You have another guy they drafted who will be on this list, and Isaiah Davis. They drafted him in the 5th round of this year's draft, and then Braylon Allen. I'm not even convinced Braylon Allen's the RB2. So that's why I have him much lower on this list. Devontae Walker comes in at 42 on my list. He was drafted in the 4th round. He goes to the Ravens. He's a 4th round receiver, which is already a red flag. He goes to the Ravens, which is kind of another red flag. I think he's more of their field stretcher than anything else. I don't think he's going to out-target Zay Flowers or Mark Andrews. It sucks. A lot of people like Devontae Walker. We'll see if he develops into more. He does have some talent, so there is a chance he does develop into more, but I think he's probably just the field stretcher for the Baltimore Ravens. Next up, I have a couple tight ends here. I have Theo Johnson. Theo Johnson out of Penn State. A lot of people saying Penn State just didn't use this guy, and they should have. He's maybe the most athletic tight end in this draft class, including Brock Bowers. He's a kind of a physical freak. He goes to the Giants in the 4th round, which is still good draft capital for tight ends. I think Waller's probably going to retire. We still don't know yet, but at this point, if you're not, in the mindset if you're going to play, I think Waller retires, and Theo Johnson comes in as the tight end 1, and maybe they hit on gold with a super athletic tight end. If I'm going to be taking tight ends that are drafted day 3, I want super athletic guys. Theo Johnson is extremely, extremely athletic. I think I forgot to change the graphic for the next guy. Jared Wiley is my next guy here, and I forgot to change his picture out. But anyways, Jared Wiley out of TCU. He is my number 44 overall Dynasty rookie ranking guy. He was drafted 4th in the 4th round to the Chiefs. A lot of people, when they made comps, they said he's Travis Kelce. Not that he's going to be as productive as Travis Kelce. That's not what comps mean. It's a comp and how they play. He plays like Travis Kelce, and guess what? He's on the Chiefs. So I think they're going to groom him to take over for Kelce, and I'll take that. I want the tight end on the Chiefs when Kelce's gone. Dylan Lobby is my number 45 overall. Pretty simple here. He was drafted in the 6th round, but what I'm looking for again is either A, are you going to be the RB2? I don't know. I just got a thumbs up bubble that came up. That's kind of weird. A, are you going to be the RB2? Or B, can you catch balls? Right? Are you going to be the RB2 or are you going to catch balls? He goes to the Raiders. Maybe he's RB2 over Madison, but I think he's super versatile, can catch balls. So, I'll give him that edge over some other guys here. Will Shipley, kind of the same thing here. He can catch. Now, I don't think he's as good as a catcher as guys like Bucky Irving or Lobby, but he was drafted in the 4th round to the Eagles. I like the team he went on. He's not going to touch Saquon Barkley's workload, but, if something happens to Barkley, he can catch the ball. So there's value in there. That's why he's my 46th pick. 47, I have Johnny Wilson. A lot of people expected Johnny Wilson to be a day 2 pick. He fell all the way to the 6th round. And that's essentially why he's on this list, is enough people thought of him as a day 2 guy. He fell to the 6th round. He has something that most, I'm looking for uniqueness. What do you have that others don't? The guy is incredibly tall, and he could run routes better than we think. He's incredibly tall. He can't create much separation, but he has something that other receivers just don't have, and that's the height. So maybe that leads him to winning out and being, he goes to the Eagles. Maybe he's their third option. They kind of need a third option. So we'll see. Isaiah Davis, kind of already talked about him. He was drafted to the Jets in the 5th round. Everything I said for Braylon Allen, kind of insert for Isaiah Davis. I think Braylon Allen was a little bit better of a prospect, which is why I have him a bit higher. But Isaiah Davis could be the RB2 behind Breece Hall for the Jets. I wouldn't be surprised if he beat out Breece Hall. So that's why I have him at number 49. Number 48, number 49, I have Eric All out of Iowa. Another guy who, he played at Michigan. Is this the next Iowa guy? He transferred to Iowa. They kind of didn't use him a lot. He's kind of athletic, some injury stuff. Goes to the Bengals. Bengals need a tight end. Joe Burrow started to have a connection with Tanner Hudson before he got injured. Eric All could come in. I know they have Gesicki on that team, but Eric All could come in, be the tight end one for the Bengals. And at the very end, I have Mr. Brendan Rice. Kind of the same thing for Johnny Wilson. Brendan Rice was expected to be a day 2 pick and fell to the 7th round. The chances of him succeeding are slim to none, but I'll take a shot on a guy that a lot of people thought was going to go higher, and he didn't. So I don't know why he fell to the 7th round. It's definitely a huge red flag. He'll be, we're talking about now 50th overall. These are undrafted free agent guys. But he goes to the Chargers, wide open, kind of an open receiver room. So we'll see if he wins out. There will be competition there. So there you have it, guys. That's my top 50 Dynasty Superflex rookie rankings. If you enjoyed this video, give us a like and subscribe. I will be putting out more content, undrafted gems and things like that. Appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you on the next video.